Raise the big questions tonight, questions that demand accountability. Why wasn't IndiGo ready for this new flight time limitation rules that would give pilots more relaxation? Did IndiGo use its monopoly to arm twist the DGCA to once again relax the rules? Why were the government and the Ministry of External Affairs caught completely, of civil aviation, caught completely unawares? IndiGo meltdown, is it a wake-up for India's aviation sector? Joining me now, Jitendra Bhargava, former Executive Director, Air India; Captain Sam Thomas, President, Airlines Pilots Association; Captain Sanjay Gupta, former pilot; Mr. Shivraman, a former representative of the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. Appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to you first, Captain Thomas, because you have suggested, I read somewhere, that this is a deliberately created artificial crisis to force the DGCA to dilute the new FDTL rules, the flight duty time limitations that would provide certain relaxation for pilots between flights. Do you believe IndiGo misused this and blackmailed DGCA to once again relax the rules?
Absolutely, absolutely. Rajdeep, good evening. First of all, the pilots of our association and the other unions at large are of the opinion that the apology given is an apology of an apology. However, we are now deciding what is a bigger criminal act, that what IndiGo carried out or what the government of India carried out, because we had warned them well in advance, and we also object to the fact that these new FDTL norms are being bandied as the real reason for these delays. How come that same set of FDTL did not cause any delay in Akasa, did not cause any delay with Air India, which is equally as big, and how it just happened only with IndiGo? This has been a pressure tactic of many an airline. Whenever something doesn't go their way, they engineer this act. And sure enough, if you see, DGCA has not only rolled back the FDTL, they've completely removed the FDTL. Today, we don't know which FDTL we are following, because a violation of a rule that I don't know, how will you hold me accountable? And that we are still wondering which is a bigger criminal act, what was done by the airlines or what was done by the regulators.
So you are, just to tell our viewers, FDTL rules and why they matter. 48 consecutive hours of weekly rest for pilots. Night redefined as 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Earlier it was 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Maximum of 2 night landings per pilot. No more than 2 consecutive night duties, mandatory roster adjustments, and quarterly fatigue reporting. So you're saying, Captain Thomas, all of this was known to IndiGo in advance and to other airlines, but IndiGo did not prepare in advance and thereby created this mess so that the DGCA would have no option but to relax the rules once again, because IndiGo has 66% market share and monopolizes it. Am I correct? A quick answer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they have agreed to that on paper. They have given a statement that we've misinterpreted this, but we'd like to say that we'd informed them on the 24th of November, while we met the DGCA, that something like this is going to happen, because this is their bargaining chip. And we say that heads must roll, some kind of criminal activity must be dealt with exactly like that, as criminals are dealt with. And only then will will this action not repeat itself. Also like to tell you that every time there is an issue,
I'm going to flash that. The head, you're calling for criminal liability, you're calling for action.
Yes.
Right. You're saying that they are virtually... I take your point. Jitendra Bhargava, I want you to respond to what you've heard from Captain Thomas. You cannot allow... It seems at the moment that there was either collusion or certainly that the DGCA and the Ministry of Civil Aviation was caught unawares, and IndiGo, according to Captain Thomas, knew about it, exploited the situation. They wanted these FDTL rules to be relaxed. The other view, of course, is that all of this was surely preventable. I mean, you've got a situation, this is unprecedented, of thousands of flights being cancelled.
Rajdeep, it's a criminal action the way they go ahead. Notwithstanding the successful 19 years of IndiGo, what has happened in the past 5 days is absolutely atrocious, can't be expected, is an ugly chapter in the history of Indian aviation now. What did happen? As you very rightly said, they command two-thirds of the market share in the domestic market. Every airline was given the new norm, the new FDTL thing, they should have followed it. But what they perhaps thought was that they will be able to manage DGCA to give them an extension. Question is, why were they over-optimistic? And why were they so confident that they will get it? Now, that's one. Number 2 point is, having known that the operations will be badly mauled, flight cancellation will take place, they did not come forth and said, this is a truncated flight schedule. We are cancelling flights. Why make a passenger come to the airport and then realize that his flight has been cancelled? Now, when you look at it from perspective, they have come forth now and now giving the reasons why we're looking and how long will it take. The question is, should they be allowed to go scot-free? We all know that IndiGo, when we buy tickets on IndiGo and cancel our ticket, they forfeit 90% of the fare. Aren't passengers deserving of compensation now, considering the fact that this crisis is of their own making? Simply can't agree. That
So what should IndiGo have done, Mr. Bhargava? Well, you're saying
in such a manner.
No. What could or should IndiGo have done then? You're saying they should have forewarned passengers, or they should have gone to the DGCA much earlier, explained the situation, because other airlines, as Captain Thomas rightly puts, seem to have got their act together. So how should IndiGo have responded? Why do you say they are criminal? This is criminal negligence.
No, Ratni, once they knew that DGCA had turned down their request, they could not have mustered enough pilots to keep the operation going. There was a need for them to truncate the schedule and make it in public knowledge that these are the flights that we are not operating, number one. Number two, sought the help of other airlines and said, look, we are going to be, there's going to be mass-scale cancellation, come to our rescue. Like now, as your correspondent said, we are talking in terms of trains also being run so that the passengers can travel, etc. The mayhem at the airport has been unprecedented. And the CEO of IndiGo coming on the 5th day of the crisis and giving explanation is simply not acceptable. I have not seen in my 20 years of serving and 15 years post my retirement in the aviation industry.
Mr. Shivraman, you've heard Jitendra Bhargava and Captain Thomas, and DGCA surely has a responsibility. There's a regulatory oversight. And as a regulatory oversight, DGCA should have got its act together. It's all very well suddenly for Minister Naidu to today come and say, no, we'll get everything together in 48 hours. All of this could have been eminently preventable if the DGCA should have either had a dialogue with IndiGo and ensured that this did not spiral into the kind of crisis that we've seen. Do you agree that DGCA has been caught on the wrong foot?
Yeah, the DGCA has been caught on the wrong foot. But before that, I would like to say that there is a board of directors for the IndiGo. And there are independent directors there. They are supposed to be the guardians of the stakeholders here, which are the passengers for the IndiGo. What were they doing? What was their responsibility? They should resign or they should be asked to quit. Number two, when these new FDTL were announced in the late 2023, it was clear that the airlines had to get themselves ready for implementing these new FDTL, which required a little bit of addition to the crew, which probably IndiGo did not bother to consider at all, because they were a monopolist and they thought they could get away with everything. And I would like to add another point. A few days ago, I was in Bangalore airport. And normally I see what is happening in the airport because I was the DGCA and Additional Secretary Civil Aviation for more than 3.5 years. In fact, the opening of the skies was done in my time. Yes. So I was looking at the airport and I found more than about 15 to 20 IndiGo aircraft just parked there without engines or the engines capped. These aircraft would have certainly had crew members. What were these crew members doing? What did the DGCA, the IndiGo company do with these crew members? They would have certainly added to the fleet. Thirdly, and finally, the DGCA should have monitored what these airlines were doing in regard to the implementation of the new FDTL. Were they adding to the crew? where they're training more number of crew, probably the DGCA slipped on this. So therefore, there is responsibility in all these people, including, I must say, the Pilot Association also. The Pilot Association also would have been watching that more crew required to implement the FDTL. Why didn't they also take it up at that time with the IndiGo Airline board or with the DGCA? So all of these people had to share some responsibility in this case. Much worse, I would say, the DGCA had the fundamental responsibility of ensuring that their guidelines, the DGCA's guidelines, were properly implemented and preparations were on from 2023 onwards. All of them have failed. And here, the DGCA has no buckle.
I'm just for a moment bringing in also, yeah, those are very strong words, and I'm glad people are using these kind of strong words, because what has happened is totally unacceptable. The minister cannot get away today by saying, look, I'm going to warn IndiGo, or I'm going to make sure that accountability is fixed. It's too late, Mr. Naidu. Yeah, but before I come to you, Captain Sanjay Gupta, just Captain Sam Thomas wants to come in for a moment because he is the president of the Airlines Pilots Association, and then I'll come to you, Captain Gupta. Okay, yes, go ahead, Captain Thomas.
I completely agree with Mr. Shivaraman, and we were very young pilots when Mr. Shivaraman was the DGCA. One thing that we do not concur with is that pilot unions have raised this issue right from the beginning and brought it to the attention of IndiGo. However, you must understand that the unions have been done away with right now, and any kind of information or any kind of opposition to any rule in IndiGo, you will be terminated forthwith. There have been people terminated, and this is the reason, Mr. Shivaraman, that we are not able to openly talk in a place like IndiGo, but we as independent body have brought it to their attention on several occasions, sir.
That's why I'm saying that the board of directors are responsible.
You're saying you brought it to the, sorry, Mr. Shivaraman, you wanted to respond. Go ahead and respond to what you heard from Captain Thomas. He says the pilots have brought this to the... yes, go ahead.
No, that's why I said the board of directors of the IndiGo company are
go ahead, Mr. Shivaraman.
Squarely responsible for this. Why didn't the board of directors act? Because this was a major policy change which they had to bring about in the interest of the crew safety, in the interest of the flight safety of the passengers. So the board of directors must be squarely held responsible for this. They cannot get away from this responsibility. And the independent directors must be held responsible. What were they doing when all these things were happening? Where are they now? Nobody seems to be in the picture at all. I have been an independent director of a very large company, and we knew what was the responsibility of independent directors. And so in one company, I had to resign because the company was not implementing what was necessary to be implemented. What are the independent directors doing? Why is the DGCA not asking the independent directors?
Mr. Shivaraman, what about the Ministry of Civil Aviation? Mr. Shivaraman, you're saying the IndiGo board of directors, independent directors have a responsibility. I take the point. What about the Ministry of Civil Aviation and indeed the DGCA? What is their responsibility? Who will fix accountability there?
Let me tell you one thing. When I became the DGCA, after being the Additional Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Mr. Khan, who is presently the governor of Bihar, I went and told him, I'll be DGCA so long as you tell me that you will not interfere with my decision because I am a statutory authority. And Mr. Khan announced it in the parliament that he will never interfere with me. And in the 3.5 years I was DGCA, no minister interfered with my decisions. So therefore, here the DGCA, who is a statutory authority, cannot depend on the minister. And the minister cannot say that he is responsible. No, the DGCA is responsible. The ministry comes into the picture only when the DGCA fails. In this particular case, whether the minister thinks that the DGCA has failed, I do not know. The DGCA is a statutory
I just want to throw up some numbers. Sir, I just want to throw up some numbers. IndiGo's on-time performance, 6 metro airports, 2025 in percentage terms. In June, it was 86.3%, July 91.4%, August 90.6%, September 87.4%, October 84.1%, November 67.7%, and December 4th, it is 8.5%. Completely unacceptable. What would happen globally if this happened? Sanjay Gupta, you're now joining us. You've been a pilot for years. Do you believe this that the flight rules which have been put in place by the government were rules that every airline should implement? Are they in the pilot's interest to give pilots more rest time, relaxation time, and should airlines have ensured that they have sufficient staff strength to meet the growing demands? You can't just expand your airline and not have enough pilots. Do you agree, Mr. Gupta?
Good evening to everyone, all the panelists, and Rajdeep to you. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Basically, FDTL in any country is designed for proper rest for the crew. What had happened in the last 10-15 years is slowly it got diluted in various ways because some airline wanted something and another airline wanted something. Best is to make a summary of all the countries which are so-called developed and make a summary out of it. That's the best way out. And this is what the pilot associations and everyone are doing. We have to understand that if there is no proper rest, there's going to be a problem. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of pilots are getting out of this career. I know of a lot of colleagues of mine who have stopped flying. They could have flown for another 5 years at 60, but they have stopped. Reason is that the FDTL is getting too tight. There's not much rest, and that is the reason. And as far as IndiGo is concerned, and DGCA is concerned, they have a lot of time at their disposal. The winter schedule was approved by DGCA 3 months in advance. And it has to be in conjunction. You see the number of people who have died before the flight, on the flight, is basically, it's all about fatigue management. So this is the reason why everything is being looked into.
You know, I just want to ask you there, Captain Thomas, do you believe that the relationship is exploitative between the airlines and the pilots? And this is the exploitative relationship that must end. If I'm expanding, as IndiGo keeps claiming they're expanding, buying many more planes, going on many more routes, you jolly well also ensure that you have better staff strength as per FDTL global rules. Otherwise, the relationship becomes exploitative and can hamper flight safety and passenger safety.
Absolutely, absolutely. The whole world has gone towards FRMS, which is a fatigue risk management system. India very reluctantly, albeit late, joined that bandwagon. However, these kind of pressure tactics are the ones that are going to help roll back these. Now, today, I don't know what kind of rules I'm following. Secondly, you brought up the matter of OTP, on-time performance. Please be aware that most of the airlines today say, I will take 2 hours to reach Mumbai, whereas I have, for 31 years, flown that sector for 1 hour and 35 minutes. Now, when you say I will do it in 2 hours and you reach there in 1 hour and 45 minutes, you announce that I have reached ahead of time, which is another thing not short of cheating. And again, the statements made regarding the rate of tickets on the other airlines. Always when the other airlines capitalize on chaos that happens in Indian airports, the tickets can go exorbitantly high. And there is a statement always made from the government that we are capping it. Not 1 rupee is reduced, either in the airlines, competing airlines, or in the hotels. Not 1 rupee. So these are cumulatively a huge criminal act, and somebody should pay for it. Somebody should be arrested. Somebody should be made an example of. Otherwise, this will repeat itself over and over again.
I'm showing the numbers of what the price was earlier and what's it got now. Someone has just sent me Air India Express leaving Delhi at 1 p.m. to Kolkata with one stop at Guwahati, 50,508 per adult. This is what is happening. These are the kind of, Mr. Shivraman, this is where it comes. The DGCA or the Ministry of Civil Aviation, it should put passenger interest first. These are the things the minister should be looking at. Other airlines are now exploiting this situation. We are in the festive season at the end of the year. I come back to it, Shivramanji, while IndiGo has a responsibility and they have to pay a price, will the DGCA and MOCA also need to be firmer and stronger with all airlines?
Absolutely. For example, if I remember right, the old Indian Aircraft Act Section 5 gives plenipotentiary powers to the DGCA to ensure flight safety, safety of the crew and passengers. Therefore, the responsibility statutorily lies on the DGCA, not the minister, not the ministry. Why do they have a DGCA with the rank of an additional secretary to Government of India? Therefore, the DGCA has to take the responsibility. Why was his staff not inquiring into the progress of implementation of the new FDTL? From the very beginning, it was announced in 2023. And secondly, I also would like to be a little more charitable to the DGCA because almost 30% of his posts are vacant. According to the sources which I saw, that 1,500 posts of the DGCA are vacant. Why should they remain vacant? If they are vacant, how can they conduct a safety audit of all the airlines? It's not possible for them. So all these things are a messy affair, and I do not know why the ministry is not taking an interest in filling up the posts of the DGCA. So that is where the ministry comes in. But as far as the responsibility to the passenger safety and the crew safety is concerned, it's only the DGCA which is responsible, not the ministry.
Right.
Statutally, DGCA is responsible, not the ministry.
I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. Either way, we hope that the minister will now intervene, at least ensure that IndiGo is held accountable. If not, passengers will hold IndiGo accountable. What has happened is unacceptable, and I hope that the Pilots Association is given their due rights as pilots and not exploited. I appreciate all my guests joining me on the show tonight. We will continue to track this story.